Hi, my name is Lisa. I have had the privilege of working for Children in the Wilderness for a number of years, teaching children in our eco clubs supported by the program, training teachers on our program, and developing the curriculum for eco clubs. Today, I have been asked as a guest to join in this week's I Dream of Africa series that's all about learning and fun. I wanted to share this activity with you, inspired by my time as a teacher and eco-mentor with Children in the Wilderness. I hope you can give this a try and have some fun with your family at home. So you might be wondering what on earth a tippy tap is. They are a hand washing device, hands-free hand washing device that were designed and developed initially in rural India in places where running water is very hard to come by. And this idea has found its way into Africa, where obviously we have a very similar problem where in many rural areas in Africa running water is not readily available. So these tippy taps are really cool. They tip and require absolutely no contact with the device, so no germs are spread. And obviously, given where we're at the moment with this COVID-19 lockdown situation, it's very important to stop the spread of germs. So having a hands-free hand washing device is really clever. And this is something that's obviously now being locked in your homes, you can build at home, but it's something that you can take further when you're back at school and build some tippy taps outside your bathrooms at school, or outside your hall, or in your community, in the neighborhoods where you live, wherever there are lots of gatherings of people where you actually don't want to come in contact with other people's germs. Okay, so there are many different ways to build a tippy tap, and I'm going to share all sorts of different links to videos and pictures for you to have a look at to see how you can build your tippy tap. But I'm just going to talk you through the essentials and the things that you're going to need. Again, we haven't planned for any of this. We're in a lockdown just like you are, so we rummaged through the garage and the kitchen and found all the things that we needed to build our tippy tap. Most importantly, when you build your tippy tap, you're going to need to find somebody like Dean who is able to help you, an older sibling or a parent, but please don't try to do this by yourself. Make sure that you're safe and that you've got somebody helping you. Alright, so the absolute essential things that you need to build your tippy tap, for starters, is some kind of water container. We have a 5-litre water container that we're going to use because we don't mind damaging this one. You'll need a measuring jug, a pair of pliers, a nail, a lighter, some rope, soap. These are nice to have, some duct tape and cable ties, and then some planks and pieces of wood, and then a nice big container that can catch your water.
Yeah, so the duct tape and the cable ties are just probably going to help you actually set up the frame that you need to build. You might also need something to dig some holes just to put the sticks into the ground. Otherwise, if you don't have sticks, you could just use some planks. It doesn't really matter what you have, as long as you understand the principle of what you're trying to build. Kind of really is about creativity as well. See what you can find around the house and see if you can build something like this. Like Lisa said, there's so many different ways that you can build a tippy tap. So we're also going to ask you guys, once you've built them, to send us some of the pictures so we can actually see, kind of compare and see what different ideas you guys come up with.
Right, so the first step in setting up your tippy tap is to get your main structure going, and there are many different ways to do this. People will sink two sticks into the ground, have V's in them to put their supporting pole through. We don't want to destroy too much of the garden, so we've got a little bit creative here, and we found a V in a tree, which we're using as our supporting structure on that side, that we've secured with some cable ties. And then we've sunk one little stick into the ground down here. Just made sure that it's nice and deep in the ground there, covered with soil, and a brick for a little bit of support. And then we've used cable ties to secure it to the stick, which needs to be really strong and secure, because this is where the weight is going to be carried. This is where your water is going to be hanging from. So it needs to be nice and strong and secure. So the next step is to get your bottle ready to hang from your structure. Ideally, you'd want a container like this, because it's really easy with a handle like this to just create a little loop that you can then hang from your supporting stick. But because we're on lockdown and we're in dire straits, we are using this because we don't mind it getting damaged and getting holes put in it. And what we've decided to do then is to create a little sling for it, because if we just hang it from this, there's no chance that it's going to sit on that stick very easily without getting blown and moved around. So we're going to be using some ski rope to make a little sling to tie around our 5-litre bottle so that we can hang it easily from our stick. We decided to secure our little rope harness around our bottle with some duct tape, just because once this is filled with water and it's a little bit heavier, there's a chance that our rope could slip a little bit. So we just attacked it with some duct tape. You can do this a little bit neater than we did, but just a nice little bit of extra security for your harness. The next step is to make a few holes in our bottle. Please, this is a step that you need to be very careful and get somebody to help you. So I've enlisted Dean to help me with this part. It can be a little bit dangerous because what you're having to do is heat up a very sharp nail, which obviously means you're dealing with a sharp nail, a pair of pliers, and a hot nail. So if you do, for any reason, drop it, please don't try pick it up, and just be very careful for this step. So I'm going to be in charge of the lighter, and Dean's going to heat the nail up. And basically what we're going to do is make one hole in the lid of our bottle, and the reason for that is because that's going to be where we attach another piece of rope to a stick that sits on the ground to make a little lever so that we can use our foot to tip the bottle. So that can be our first hole. So obviously we want to be able to fit a rope as thick as this through this hole in the top, so we're going to need to make our hole a little bit bigger here.
Okay, that should be big enough.
Cool. Okay, the next hole that we're going to make is a hole on the side of the bottle over here where the water is actually going to come out of. So if you can imagine, this is hanging on your stick. You've got a piece of rope hanging through here that's going to tip your tap. Over here we're going to need a hole where the water actually comes out of. And you don't want your hole to be too big here, because the whole idea of a tippy tap is not only to wash your hands without having to touch anything so that it's nice and clean and hygienic. The other reason is obviously to use as little water as possible, so you don't want your hole to be too big. So the next thing you'll have to do is attach your bottle to your stick. So we tied a rope nice and snug on our stick over here and just looped it through. Simple and easy, and you can see how easily your bottle will tip now. Obviously, when it's got a little bit of water in it, it's going to have some weight on it, which will keep it nice and stable. So the next step is to make your little lever. So you need a relatively short stick for this part, and what we did was we tied a cable tie around the end of our stick with a little knot, and then you feed it through the hole that you've made in the lid of your bottle. Nice and easy. Tie a knot in that so it's secure and not going anywhere. And then you just screw the lid onto your bottle, and just like that you've got a little lever. And what we noticed is that without the brick, using your tippy tap like this, it's a little bit awkward because your rope's in the way. So what we did is we stole our brick that we used to secure our stick over there, so hopefully it doesn't cause any structural damage. We used our brick as a way to move our rope out of the way of the flow of the water, so you can kind of get in an angle like that when you tip your tap.
Okay, so once you've actually got your tippy tap built, you then need to set yourself up with some soap. You can just use a normal hand soap dispenser, otherwise get yourself a bar of soap. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to just put a hole through this. We're going to use a screwdriver to do that. We're going to thread a rope through, and we're just going to tie it on here so that you can get to it nice and quickly. Okay, so first things first, let's get a nice hole through the soap. Just use a nice big screwdriver, make a hole big enough to get the rope to go through, like so. And what we're going to do is just feed the rope through the hole, and then to make sure that the rope doesn't pull through, I've just taken another bottle cap over here and I've made a hole in it the same way that we did with the other bottle, just using a heated nail, and just push the rope through and then you can tie a couple of knots on the other side here to stop it from pulling through. There we go. That's going to obviously prevent the rope from slipping through once you start washing your hands. Then on the other side you want to make a nice big loop, big enough that you'll be able to feed the soap back through it afterwards. So just a simple overhand knot, pull that through, like so, and then you can just pop it over and push your soap bar through that side, and there you are, soap on a rope.
So that's that. We built our Tippy Tap, quick and easy. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, Tippy Taps are really useful for two reasons. The first reason being that they're really hygienic. You don't have to touch much while you're using your Tippy Tap, so it stops the spread of germs. The other reason that Tippy Taps are really useful and valuable is because they use minimal water. So you'll notice that underneath the Tippy Tap we've put a black container, and the point of that is that it's going to collect all the water that runs off as we wash our hands, and you can then reuse that water to throw over your garden, water your veggies, and there is going to be an activity in the downloadable content that will ask you to measure the amount of water that you're using in your container for another little project. But that, in a nutshell, is how you